Okay, guys, so this is gonna be one of my final streams for a while. So if you guys want to interact with me, you better hop on now and talk to me while I'm here, because you're not gonna hear from me for a while. Um, because it's no secret that my spirit is crushed. And what is this sport anymore? I know maybe I'm sounding like a crybaby, but this is just uh, genuinely how I feel. I'm just obviously not happy with how last night went. And then with how last night went, it's like, wow, what do I have to look forward to in the future now? You know what I mean? Like what do I have to look forward to going forward now? Like I can't be like, oh, I can't wait for Tatiana Suarez versus Wei Lee. Why? So then Wei Lee can win and all you guys can tell me, I told you so. I'm not looking forward to Pena versus Raquel. You know why? Because we all know, well, not we all know, but I know that I'm just only gearing up for another letdown. So, yeah, no filter. If you haven't heard, I'm going to be stepping away for a little bit. So, I mean, I hope not, but I mean, I don't know. After last night, wouldn't surprise me at this point. I mean, hey, I was dumb and delusional and thought that Grasso could beat Valentina like all three times. So, who am I to say that she's gonna beat Zhang Wei Li? Don't take it personal, bro. It's okay to be a podcaster and a fan. Embrace being both. Yeah, sometimes just being a fan of the sport is it's tough. Yeah, but I mean, but if you saw like the backlash I got last night, bro, it was insane. All like the negative comments that I had to endure, it definitely made it a lot harder for me to take the loss. Like seeing her get dominated every single round and then having to check my phone and have people in my DMs on Instagram and YouTube comments rub it in definitely didn't make it feel any easier to handle the loss. I'm not gonna lie. Like this is without a doubt like one of the most painful losses as an MMA fan I've ever had to endure. Maybe I'm being dramatic. I mean, there's a lot of favorite fighters I've had that have lost. Um, but I mean, this one especially really hurts because Grasso hasn't lost in like 5 years. She had so much momentum. She became the champion. She could have been like 6-0 in the flyweight division if Michael Bell had just given her the fourth round, and then we wouldn't see this trilogy, and she wouldn't ever lose to Valentina. Like Grasso she could have been entering her own era, but her championship reign had to be tied down to Valentina, and she had to give the win and the belt back. And now we're stuck with Valentina Shevchenko again, and now the women's flyweight division is going back to square one. I mean, now the women's flyweight division is more competitive, at least. Like the top five looks more interesting, but really, who's going to stop Valentina Shevchenko? Meaning, what interest really is there going forward? Whereas if Grasso was still the champion, with her being more beatable, there's the possibility of the belt passing around, which kind of creates more excitement. We've already seen Valentina Shevchenko reign for 5 years. Like, I really don't care to see her reign for another 5 years, you know? I really don't. Like, I'm sorry. I was ready to move on, just like I was from Amanda Nunes. I mean, at least Nunes retired, but in all honesty, I will take Nunes over Shevchenko any day. Like, honestly, I would prefer Amanda Nunes. I think she's way more exciting, better fighter. I enjoy her more. And if she was still fighting, I would probably be more excited to watch her fights as a two-time champion than Valentina Shevchenko. Because I mean, if Amanda's still here, there's the Pena trilogy, which yeah, she would win again, and that would suck. But then there's the Kayla Harrison fight, which is interesting. Which I mean, it could still happen. The Kayla Harrison fight could still take place. I could see Nunes coming out of retirement for that, but yeah, it feels like I'm just living a nightmare right now. You know, Grasso, Aldana losing on the same night, and then not even knowing where Alexa Grasso is going to go from here. And I mean, that has to be a completely confidence shattering performance because she went from being on Valentina Shevchenko's level until she wasn't. You know, it's like she had the two fights with her, and even though I know Valentina was winning until the fluke, and then she got robbed in the rematch, I get it. But even still, through losing the rounds before fluking it in round four, Grasso was still in the fight, and she was still competitive with Shevchenko. She was still giving Valentina all she could handle and was pushing her to the limit. She handily won the first round by boxing her up, taking her down towards the end of the round. And Val was panic wrestling in rounds 2 and 3. And even though Grasso was losing, it didn't feel hopeless. It felt like, okay, she's down 2-1. She just needs to get the last two rounds. But she just, sure enough, she ends up getting a finish, which is even better. But again, she looked so good in that first fight. And then the second fight, maybe not as good, but she still looked like a world champion against Valentina Shevchenko. She gave Valentina Shevchenko a close fight, just like Tyler Santos did. And even if Alexa were to walk away with an official loss on September 16th, 2023, that's still a split decision win for Shevchenko. You know what I mean? Grasso made her look human both times. Like, Grasso had a huge confidence booster from arguably being 2-0 over Valentina just to get completely dog walked for 5 straight rounds in the trilogy. Like, she had absolutely nothing for her, not in the striking, not in the grappling. Going forward, I don't know where Grasso's gonna be at confidence wise. Like, is she gonna believe now that she really got lucky against Valentina and it was never meant to beat her after all? Yeah, I am broken. I'm very mentally broken. Just like I was when Rose Namajunas lost the belt again to Carla Esparza. Just like I was when Pena got destroyed in the rematch by Amanda Nunes. Just like I was, I don't think I was that broken when Kamaru Usman lost or when Izzy lost to Poatan, but when Izzy lost to Strickland, that was another one of those I feel like fucking quitting MMA kind of losses. That's how I felt when Izzy lost a few weeks ago. I mean, I get it. I've been in this position many times before. This isn't the first time I'm gonna get brutally let down, or it's not the first time I've been brutally let down in MMA. It isn't the last. I'm not saying I'm going away for good, but after last night, it just made me question, like, what am I doing? Why am I even still watching this sport? Like, I need to invest in other things. If I'm getting that emotionally invested in MMA, then is this really the sport for me? Like, I love making YouTube videos. I love putting out content for you guys. But what I don't like is getting a bunch of predictions wrong, feeling stupid after, and having, a bunch of your favorite fighters losing all in one night. It's not an ideal feeling, you know. I took Montana De La Rosa's losses hard. um got a lot of backlash for being a fan of hers, but I kept believing in her skill set. And it makes seeing her win so much satisfying. Not to mention, not even gonna mention Casey O'Neill. Bro, take that thorn of Grasso loss and make Grasso content building her back up. Don't vanish on us. The best content comes from seeing your faves lose. Trust me, bro. Um, you make good content. Don't get attached to these fighters. Nah, it's okay to be attached. I'm a podcaster. I'm definitely. What's up, Johnson? Of course, there's James Perez, and he got the last laugh. But whatever. I'm not even gonna argue. Predictions are never perfect. Yeah, I know. But it just sucks because like I started the year 2024 0-3 on title fight predictions, and I got 7 in a row correct, and then I got 4 in a row wrong, starting with UFC 304, and now it's just like I'm 7-7, so it's kind of embarrassing. It's okay to be vulnerable as a podcaster. You're putting your words and thoughts out there to be critiqued. Don't let that overtake you. I appreciate that. No filter. But I mean, I guess it's a good thing you can relate to me when it can't, like with the whole thing with Montana De La Rosa. Because I mean, that's exactly how it is with me right now with Grasso. I've been following her career for like a long time, since like 2019, I believe. I mean, I've known of her before then, but I didn't start paying attention and becoming a fan until like after the Carla fight, when she was booked to fight Gedalia. Then that got canceled because she missed weight, and then she moved to flyweight. Like, when she kickstarted her career at flyweight, that's when I like started really like um taking notice to Grasso, and following her religiously, and that's when I became a diehard fan. And just like following her journey, like I remember saying like she's a future champion. Sometimes being unsure if I'm even correct. Like, what if I'm just being biased and delusional? But then when it actually happened, like it made it so special when that prediction, when that dream came true. It was a great feeling. You know, but it's just that's how the sport works. The highest of highs, um, and then the lowest of lows. Especially being affected by people who hide behind animated, uh, being affected by people who hide behind animated thumbnails and comments. They can never make me hate Misha, Grasso, O'Neill, De La Rosa, Robertson. I didn't say I'm like never watching MMA again. That's not what I'm insinuating. I'm just never gonna watch the sport ever again. But overall, I feel very frustrated with the sport. That's what I'm trying to say. Like I'll still like watch fights occasionally, but yes, right now I'm rethinking things. Valentina still couldn't finish Grasso. Yep, still couldn't finish her, and Grasso still has that finish win over her. And anyone who calls her a fraud champion can shut the fuck up, because I mean, it literally took Valentina Shevchenko, like, and I'm not even coping. I'm just saying it how it is. Like, it took her like 2 fights to beat Alexa Grasso. Grasso pushed her to the absolute limit. Grasso had to bring the best out of her. Um, and you know what? I can't really be sad that it's over. At least it happened. Like, at least Alexa Grasso was the champion. At least she was the champion. At least she won the belt. I got what I wanted out of it, even though she didn't beat Valentina Shevchenko twice. I remember what I said like before UFC 285. I remember saying like in March 2023, I think it was literally on fight week of the first fight. I remember doing a video saying that no matter what happens after, like even if I teased the idea of maybe Valentina coming back and winning a rematch, I said even if Val comes back and beats her in the rematch, which is highly possible, which happened, I said March 4th is what counts. Like the first time is what really counts. On that night is what really counts. So I mean, if Alexa would have got done like that the first time around and never touched gold, I probably would have felt worse, honestly. Same as Juliana and Amanda. Yep, that's true. Juliana Pena finished Amanda Nunes, and Amanda Nunes couldn't finish her. Can I talk about what's next for Grasso? Um, yeah, I mean, Alexa, I could make a video on that individually, but like I can talk about that in this live stream too. I mean, Grasso could probably fight the winner of Rose versus Aaron. I'm hoping it's Rose though, because I like Rose. I'm a fan of hers, and Rose is a better stylistic matchup for Alexa than Aaron. I mean, I'm not saying Rose isn't like dangerous for Alexa because she's very good on the feet and she can mix it up and grapple like Shevchenko, but she doesn't have like the level of wrestling of a Blanchfield. So I feel like that's a fight where Grasso might have an easier time stylistically because I'm sure they'd mainly be striking, and she might have a better chance stuffing Rose's takedowns than Shevchenko's takedowns, and maybe even returning her own takedowns against Rose. But either the winner of Rose, Aaron, or maybe Natalia Silva, although I want to fight where I know Grasso could win. Like I kind of don't want to risk her um, losing two fights in a row, but this is what comes with being a former champion is you're gonna go from champ to number one contender, and you're gonna now have a target on your back, and it's open game. These girls climbing up the rankings are gonna look to fight the highest ranked opponents possible, and if they gotta fight the number one contender, I mean, if these girls want to get a title shot, most of them, the path to the title to Valentina is through Alexa Grasso. But I mean, they could even maybe do Grasso Barber too as well, because Macy Barber said whether Grasso wins or loses that fight, I want the rematch with her. Well, you know what, Barber? Now's your chance. Maybe early next year you could get that rematch with Alexa. I mean, there's a lot of people Alexa could fight in the division, honestly. Oh yes, that's right. I think she would easily beat Caitlin Sermonara. Easily, easily, she'd win that fight. She'd easily win that fight with Caitlin Chukagian. Because what is Caitlin going to do? Caitlin's striking sucks. Her striking mainly just depends on her attributes. She's just tall and long, has volume, but her striking is kind of ass. She's an okay grappler. I don't think she out grapples Alexa Grasso like that. Honestly, Grasso might submit her, if we're being honest. Yeah, I know Caitlin does make people look bad, but I don't think she's making Grasso look bad. I mean, Barber made Chukagian look horrible. I know her last name's Sermonara, but she still feels like a Chukagian to me. You know, when women get married and change their last name, it's kind of hard to. I don't know. It feels awkward to call them by their new last name. Alexa didn't take much damage. She'll come back and get the belt. I hope so. I mean, to Alexa's credit, I mean, she is young. Valentina Shevchenko, even though, yes, she did look improved last night, she is 36. Um, she can't stay champion forever. She might be champion for like another year, but another loss is like inevitable at this point. And like when she loses, because I do think she'll lose again. I don't think she'll retire on top because she's not Amanda Nunes where she has distractions of being a family woman. She's single, no kids. She's strictly focused on being the best in the world. Val just strikes me as the type of person who's just gonna stick around and keep doing this until age does her apart. Um, so when she finally does get old, when age, she already is old, when age finally matters and when she gets knocked off the throne, that might be an opportunity for Alexa Grasso. Alexa didn't do nothing. I don't know why. Yeah, honestly, like Alexa Grasso just looked completely off last night. She looked off. For as good as Valentina looked, Grasso just didn't look herself at all. And it happens to the best of them. A lot of fighters will have off nights. I know it's happened to Valentina. It's happened to Amanda. And I think it happened to Grasso. I just think her spirit, for some reason, wasn't in it, and she was sleepwalking in that fight. Like, she was nowhere near the level that she was in the second and first fight. Like, Grasso from fight 1 and fight 2 would beat the Valentina Shevchenko that showed up last night. I don't care. I just think there was something wrong with Alexa. And we're yet to find out what it was. But Alexa's not the type of fighter to, make excuses. And again, I'm not trying to take credit from Shevchenko. Shevchenko is an all-time great. So for her to come back and to make those adjustments, to completely dominate, I mean, hey, like, congrats. It's not unexpected. And I did do that video like a few weeks ago where I said I am worried for Alexa Grasso ahead of this fight. And I was worried for a good reason, because I knew those first 2 fights were not easy. And I knew that she had another tough fight on her hands. Like, when they made that fight a draw, I was like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. Because I knew there was a chance they were gonna do that trilogy. And I knew, oh my gosh, Grasso has to go through this again. And what if she loses? And it happens. The worst that could possibly happened last night. Val Manin. Yeah, that's a good fight. Val versus Furo. And I think Manin Furo, I don't know if she beats Valentina, but I think she would be a good challenge for her, because I don't think Manon is going to get like completely wrestled like Alexa Grasso. Like, Alexa is the smaller fighter, so she's naturally going to be easier to ragdoll. She's got short legs, short, weak legs. Um, outmatched in physicality, whereas Manon Fiorot is bigger than Valentina. She might be stronger than Valentina Shevchenko. She has good takedown defense. So if takedown defense isn't an issue, I'm not saying that Valentina can't outstrike her. She probably will, but Manon could pose some problems on the feet against Valentina Shevchenko. Irene cut was gross. Yeah, that was gnarly. That was disgusting. And I thought that was like from a punch, but when I found that was from a headbutt, I'm like, oh, that's not good. It sucks that like damage has to be counted in that fight because of a headbutt and not an actual punch. And when Irene did damage of her own, it was from a legal strike. Although I don't think the headbutt was good. I don't think like the outcome was going to be any different. Even without the headbutt, it wasn't looking good for Irene Aldana, because Aldana clearly wasn't going to change anything. She just kept like following Norma Dumont in circles and chasing her with that left hook that was never going to land. Didn't throw any leg kicks, didn't throw any body kicks, didn't stance switch, never sidestep to cut off the octagon. And you know what's funny? Whenever they were in the clinch, Irene Aldana looked stronger. When she was defending takedowns and pushing up Norma against the cage, she looked way stronger. So if she wanted to, she could have forced the clinch and tried some dirty boxing. She could have tried to use some body shots. She could have tried to mix in some takedown attempts, but Aldana is very one-dimensional as a fighter. Like, on a defensive level, when it comes to her grappling and defending takedowns and fighting on the ground, Aldana is very effective. But when it comes to mixing up the martial arts, she's not effective at all. She only has like a one-track approach, which is, if you have lateral movement, follow you around in circles. It's frustrating to watch, because Aldana has potential. And at this point, I don't think she's ever going to meet that potential, sadly, because she's older in her career and she's already established that she's never going to dabble in other gyms. But Aldana has the physical potential. Aldana's big. Aldana has strength. Aldana has power and toughness, athleticism. If she could just put it all together, if she could match the skill with the attributes, she would be unstoppable and she could be a world champion. But I just don't think she's ever going to be able to reach the level that Alexa Grasso did. Unfortunately. Dumont champ soon. I mean, if Kayla Harrison loses to Ketlin Vieira or loses to the winner of Pena Pennington, then yeah, Norma Dumont might be a champion. Like Norma Dumont could definitely be a bad matchup for Raquel Pennington. I think she's a better striker than Pennington. As long as she doesn't get like hugged in the clinch for 5 rounds, then she should be able to outstrike Raquel. She probably does beat Juliana Pena. Let's be real. Um, and I think she would beat Ketlin Vieira. But Kayla Harrison is a horrible matchup for everybody in that division, and I don't know if Dumont could go up against the wrestling like that. Like Dumont is a bad woman when it comes to her striking and her movement. And going in, I should have seen it coming, but again, I'm very biased when it comes to Irina Aldana. Like before this loss, before Norma humbled me, I just like refuse to admit that anyone could beat her, even though there were plenty of girls that could beat her. I'm like, no, I'm gonna pick her to beat whoever she fights. So yeah, I didn't want to pick Norma to win, but I did see the path to victory for Norma in when it came to the striking, in all honesty. But I just thought that eventually Aldana was gonna be able to enforce a brawl on her, But Norma Dumont stuck to a game plan to her credit, stayed behind the jab, kept moving, kept circling, never stayed in one spot for Aldana to trap her and land any power shots. And what sucks is that it looked like Aldana kind of stunned Dumont towards the end of round two. And I did predict that she was going to stun Dumont in the second round. And who knows what would have happened if she would have landed that shot sooner. Just like Yana is back to Kunitskaya after the Chandler beatdown. Sean did nothing. Marab broke him. Yeah, and Marab is really good. Marab is really good. I shouldn't have switched my pick last night. Because I remember I was saying for a year that I think Marab Davalishvili would beat Sean O'Malley. I always said he was a bad matchup for him, but then as the fight got closer, I saw a lot of other people going for O'Malley. And then the more I thought about the matchup, I kind of got worried that, man, what if O'Malley just cracks this guy? Because O'Malley has proven himself to be really good. I mean, he defended all of Aljamain Sterling's takedowns and he knocked out Aljamain Sterling. And Marab on paper is kind of seen as like a worse version of Aljamain Sterling. So I kind of thought, okay, O'Malley will just catch him like he did Aljo, but I should have known. But I don't feel too bad about it because everyone was picking Sean O'Malley to win. A lot of the well-known MMA content creators had O'Malley winning. I don't remember any MMA YouTuber that had Marab winning. MMA Guru didn't pick Marab. Lucas Tracy in an old stream said that he thinks O'Malley's gonna win. Bedtime MMA had O'Malley. And I just saw a path to victory for O'Malley and I decided to predict it. But if you don't get a guy like Marab out of there within the first 2 rounds, you're not beating him. You're not going to beat him. But what does suck is Sean O'Malley hurt him with a body kick in the 5th round. And I was happy that he did. I was like, yes, come on, it's your chance. You got to finish him. But it was a little too late. Marab was able to survive, and he already had 3 or 4 rounds in the bag. But I mean, could you imagine if Sean O'Malley could have landed that in the first round? He would have had a good chance of maybe finishing Marab. And what was kind of weird about that fight, like in the first round when I saw like Marab prancing side to side and backing up, and O'Malley was stalking him down, when Marab just randomly started pointing to the side, I'm like, what the hell is this Joker doing? Like, I thought Marab was trying to like distract O'Malley to like avert his attention elsewhere. I'm like, really? Like, you're trying to do that like obvious trick on O'Malley that's not gonna work, that literally never works. Like that's the same thing that Yoel Romero did to Paulo Costa. He got hurt in like an early exchange, and then like he pointed to the side, and Costa actually did fall for it, and then ended up getting hurt. But I remember looking at that like, wait, why is Marab trying to do that to Sean O'Malley? But then I realized, oh, he's actually going back and forth with Tim Welsh, which I mean, that's not a surprise because Tim Welch and Marab, they've had their fair share of bad blood. Val was scared of Grasso striking. She knew she can just lay on her. Boring though. I know, right? Aldana cut was the worst cut I've ever seen in my life. I thought you could see her brain. Yeah, that was gnarly. Like that was hard to watch. Watching Aldana, it was already frustrating seeing her getting picked apart in the first round, not getting off any good strikes, and then it felt worse seeing her get brutally busted open and bleeding all over, and then being down 2 rounds, and then watching like the cut get even worse. Like honestly, I wish they would have just stopped that fight. Like I did not want to see that cut open up any more than it needed to. And what sucks about that, the shitty thing about that cut is that Aldana might need to take another extended break. Like I waited a long time to see Aldana fight again after that fight with Carol Rosa where she had the leg injury after. Now do I gotta wait till like June, July of next year to see her back? Like I want to see her back right away, but I know because of that damage, it's gonna be a while. Irene has been taking shitloads of damage after Nunes, but Irene takes damage in like a lot of fights though. If we're being honest, like Aldana doesn't really have the greatest defense on the feet. She does get hit a lot and she does take damage in her fights. Norma is a savage. Norma is an animal. She fucked up Irene. Yeah, badly. But you know what would be a good matchup for Aldana? I think her next opponent should be Mayra Bueno Silva. I think that would be the easiest stylistic matchup for Aldana in the division. I think that would be the perfect matchup for Irene Aldana because Mayra Bueno Silva has horrible boxing defense. She stands in the pocket. She brawls, doesn't move side to side. Yeah, she's good on the ground. She has good grappling, but doesn't really have like good wrestling to go with that jujitsu. And Irene Aldana's takedown defense is really good. Like it's massively improved from the Holly fight, even from the Macy Chasson fight. So I don't think that Mayra Bueno Silva is getting her down. Even if she does, she's not keeping her down. And I think Aldana can find that chin and put her to sleep. I have no doubts about it. Um, I'm glad O'Sally pride emoji lost. I'm so happy. I can't stand that industry plant. Haha. You love Grasso and Irene. Damn right I do. And they're badass but not doing well now. I know. It's the worst. I'll drink Grasso's bathwater, okay? You're leaving? I'm not leaving. I'm just considering a break. I'm just considering a break because I'm like I said in that community post, I'm not feeling the love for the sport anymore. I'm really not. And it's more than just Alexa Grasso losing. Oh, that's definitely a big part of it. It's more annoying at the fact, like, let me just get in depth of what really frustrates me about MMA. And this might sound crazy. I'm not trying to say the world revolves around me or I am a victim. I am just talking about my luck when it comes to fighters I root for and don't root for, okay? So this is what frustrates me. So what happened for Valentina Shevchenko? The fact that she was able to rebound from losing the title and get the belt back and will probably defend it once regaining it. What frustrates me about that is, see, I'm not a fan of Valentina Shevchenko, not anymore at least. But I'm a fan of guys like Israel Adesanya and Kamaru Usman, and when their times are done, when they finally got dethroned, well, Izzy did regain the belt, but then he had to lose it again right away to Sean Strickland of all people. Um, but like Usman could not get the belt back. He was winning against Leon Edwards. He was winning. I'm a fan of Usman, and he was winning against Leon Edwards until he wasn't, until a fluke happened in the 5th round. But guess what? Leon Edwards, who I'm not a fan of, got to win the rematch and prove the last one wasn't a fluke. But Alexa Grasso, who I love, couldn't do the same. Valentina, who I don't love, could come back and do what Usman couldn't do. Israel Adesanya couldn't come back and regain the title. Israel Adesanya already had his time as champion, so his time is done. Dricus and Strickland can get rid of him, but Pena and Aldana can't get rid of Amanda Nunes. Like, do you guys get where I'm coming from here? Like, I'm just talking about my luck when it comes to fighters I support and don't support. That's what frustrates me. Or Peter Yan, who I'm a fan of. Should have beat Aljamain Sterling the first time, and I'm not a Sterling hater. I'm a fan of Peter Yan, and I was really stoked when he won the belt, and I was so confident he would school Aljamain Sterling for his first defense, and he was. Aljo gets lucky with the illegal knee, but then Peter Yan cannot come back and win the rematch. Aljo gets to come back, shut everyone up, win the rematch, and defend his belt 2 more times. But Alexa Grasso can't do what Aljamain Sterling did. And Peter Yan can't come back and dominate the rematch like Valentina Shevchenko or Amanda Nunes did. That's what frustrates me about the sport, and it always feels like it always feels like as a fan, I'm on the outside looking in, watching other fans of the sport be happy, and then I'm one of the few select fans who are always kind of miserable and frustrated. And again, I'm not acting like the world revolves around me. I'm not trying to play the victim. I'm just being real with how I feel and what I'm seeing. But this is what's frustrating me about the sport. It's like at any and all costs, no matter what the circumstance, no matter who the fighter is, they must always lose no matter who they're fighting. And it always seems like my fighters, who they lose to, they always have to lose to someone where it will sting the most if they lose to that particular fighter. Like Grasso could have lost to anyone else, and I still would have been upset. But her losing to Valentina Shevchenko stings the most. If she would have lost to Erin Blanchfield last night or Manon Fiorot, I would have still been very upset, but not as upset as I am right now because these are fresh opponents. These are girls who never had a chance to be champs before. This is a new era of the belt passing around. That's what I wanted to see. I was not interested in seeing a dominant champion who's already made the division stale regain the title. Now, let me read these comments and let me see the responses. Aldana is a bum and you and her are perfect for each other. Haha. Combat Badger. Everyone who says they'll stop watching MMA, never do it. It's bluffing. I got my own life, but I love MMA. Yeah, I do too. But I just get too attached to the sport. And I don't know. I know there's nothing wrong with being a passionate fan. Jake Taylor. I know there's nothing wrong with being a passionate fan of the sport, but I think I just need to like reevaluate some things, in terms of how I view the sport, how I get attached to fighters because it shouldn't be this bad. Combat Badger. I would rather Grasso lose to Val than Manon. Okay, good for you, Combat Badger. Good for you. My fighters lose, it's okay. Yeah, I know this is part of life, and I fully acknowledge that I am being dramatic in this video. And like I said, I'm not gonna stop making content. I'm just considering stepping away. How's Toronto? It's good. Fighters come and go. UFC is always there. I miss Giannis Champ for sure. He's a sick fighter and cooler than Aljo. I agree. I totally agree on that. And I do agree he has a better fighting style. And again, I'm not hating on Aljamain Sterling. I think Aljamain is a phenomenal fighter. And I'm looking forward to his fight with Movsar Evloev, and I'm kind of rooting for him too, actually. I do want to see him do well in the featherweight division, and I'm happy for his success. I am. But I would have definitely preferred Peter Yan to do what Aljo did, where he was the one defending his belt multiple times. I would have loved to have seen that for Yan. Yan the GOAT. Peter Yan is based. I would just personally would rather Alexa Grasso lose to someone that she hasn't already fought and beat before. And I'd rather the division move on to a new era. Like that has to be reasonable. Marab broke Yan and Sean and Henry and Aldo and Moraes. It's crazy. Like the run that Marab is on right now is absolutely insane. I mean, from the losses that he's went through, like to Frankie Sands and Ricky Simone, to then going on this insane run, like you got to give it to Marab. Like he massively improved. Like, and honestly, I used to be a Marab hater, but I've grown to respect him. Like he's proven me wrong countless times. I've picked so many fighters to beat him, but he's proven me wrong against all of them. Like the only times I've picked Marab was when he fought Marlon Moraes and Henry Cejudo. But other times I thought Aldo would beat him. I thought Aldo was like the perfect style to beat him. I thought he'd defend all his takedowns and outstrike him, which he did defend all his takedowns, but I mean he wasn't active. But Murad Dvalishvili was able to trap him against the cage and outvolume him, which honestly I didn't see coming. I thought Aldo was going to be able to stay off the cage, piece him up. Didn't happen. Then I thought Peter Yan was a bad matchup for him. Smokes Peter Yan. And originally I was picking him to beat O'Malley, but I had to switch. Big mistake. But next fight, I'll probably pick Marab to win. If he fights Umar Nurmagomedov, I think Umar Nurmagomedov is like a good style to go against I think Umar is a good style to go against Marab. I don't know if he beats Marab though. But he could be the nightmare matchup for Marab. Like that's gonna be a good fight when it happens. I am still an Umar hater. I'm still a Marab hater. I respect Umar's game more. Grasso Barber 2. That would be a good fight, but I think Grasso beats her again. Cause Macy Barber ain't no Valentina Shevchenko. And if she couldn't beat Valentina Shevchenko twice, she will beat Macy Barber twice. I can promise you that. And Grasso is a fighter where I've accurately predicted all of her fights until last night. Like, even the Carla fight, I picked her to beat Carla, but that doesn't count because that was a robbery. I can't say anything about last night, though. But I mean, hey, you can't always be right. Manuel Torres got fucked up. He did. And I don't like the way Manuel Torres fought. Who did he fight again? Was it Ignacio Bahamondes? That was on the prelims, right? I didn't like his approach because he, like, after getting dropped, he got back up, didn't try to recover, didn't shoot any takedowns or clinch, didn't try to move around on the outside and stay defensive. He decided to start swinging with his chin up in the air and then got himself knocked out. Like that was a big mistake on the part of Manuel Torres. Carla Esparza has a good resume. She does. Underrated resume. Alexa Grasso, Rose Namajunas twice, Marina Rodriguez, Yan Xiaonan. And a lot of her wins age well too. Joanna butchered Carla. She did. She did. And it's kind of insane that like Carla Esparza became a two-time champion It's insane that Esparza became a two-time champ, but not Joanna. I mean, I never would have foresaw Carla getting the belt back. Grasso versus Aaron Blanchfield is good. Nah, not good. I'm good. I'm not trying to see Grasso get held down and controlled for 15 to 25 minutes again. And Zhang smashed Joanna's face in. Yeah, she had her face planted. Pennington or Pena. I really, 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 really want Juliana Pena to win. I hope Juliana Pena beats Raquel Pennington. I hope she saves the division from Raquel Pennington. But in MMA, we cannot have nice things. It would be ideal if Juliana Pena, one of my favorite fighters, could come back after 2 years and regain the title and beat Raquel. But realistically, that's probably not happening, and Raquel Pennington's probably going to win by decision. And I think Raquel's going to win due to the fact that she's just been more active. She has momentum. She's on a 6-fight winning streak. If they would have fought like when Juliana Pena was fresh off the win over Amanda Nunes, I think I think Pena wins that fight any day, twice on a Sunday. She wins that fight any day of the week against Raquel, active and in her prime. But not having fought in a while and being 35 years old, I know Raquel is like the same age, but again, Raquel is active, has momentum, and there's things about her style that do make her kind of problematic for Juliana Pena. You know, she's strong in the clinch, has good takedown defense, has better boxing than Juliana Pena. So I think she could piece up Pena and beat her in the clinch, probably get some takedowns of her own against Pena. Yeah, I could probably see her winning this fight by a decision, maybe 49-46, 48-47. I just think Pena might come back rusty, start slow, and then maybe she turns up a little too late. It might take her a few rounds to get warmed up, but yeah, I'm going to say Raquel wins that fight because I can't have what I want in this sport. But you know what? I will say, though, it's looking good for Tatiana Suarez. I know I was being negative earlier, but it was looking good for Tatiana Suarez. I mean, it is not was. It is looking good for her because wrestlers are taking over championship fights in 2024. Bilal Muhammad dominates Leon Edwards with his wrestling. Marab dominates O'Malley with his wrestling. I know that Valentina is not predominantly a wrestler, but again, she's more of a wrestler than Alexa Grasso, dominates her with the wrestling. So now imagine Tatiana Suarez, one of the best wrestlers in women's MMA, taking on Zhang Weili, who's not known for good takedown defense. Imagine. We might just see Weili get dominated to a decision. I don't know if Weili gets submitted by Tatiana Suarez, but I could just see Tatiana Suarez taking her down round after round, like Valentina did to Alexa Grasso, and just controlling her. Like, I think that's not a good fight for Zhang Weili. Zhang can wrestle too, but not on a defensive level. Like, her takedown defense is good. Or, sorry, her takedown defense isn't good, but she's good at taking people down and controlling people. She's good at chaining together takedowns, but when you attack takedowns on her, she usually will give up the takedowns that you attempt on her. I mean, I know she was defending some of Carla Esparza's takedowns to her credit, and Carla Esparza does have very good takedowns, does have very well-timed takedowns. You got to factor in that Zhang Weili did have a size and strength advantage in that fight over Carla Esparza, whereas Tatiana is going to be bigger than Weili, I think. She might even be stronger, and I think that's going to help her in the wrestling exchanges. And if Rose could hold down and control Zhang Weili for 10 minutes straight in rounds 4 and 5, can you not imagine Tatiana Suarez mauling Zhang, doing the same thing that Rose did in the 4th and 5th round? Except Tatiana's going to do more than just hold position like Rose did. Tatiana Suarez is going to do damage with ground and pound, and she's going to advance to more dominant positions. Like, Weili's not just going to safely lay on bottom against Tatiana. She will get punished. Ode was good. He was. He was. Like, he almost knocked out Ronaldo Rodriguez in the first round, which is so sad because Ronaldo was talking so much crap at the presser, and then Ode was about to shut him up, but then Ronaldo toughed his way out, ended up on top. And I think Ode's mistake was going for the triangle choke. I think Ode Osborne should have just focused on getting back up rather than attacking the triangle choke because Ronaldo was still hurt. So he could have got back up, kept putting hands on him, and he maybe could have knocked him out. It's very possible. No, Toronto's still very hot. Esteban is a savage. Norma versus Harrison. Harrison wins that. Suarez is gonna be the GOAT. She could be a 3-division champ. Nah, I don't think she could be a 3-division champ. I don't even know if she would be a 2-division champion. I think she'd have a harder time with the top flyweights, but strawweight is her perfect division because she has a physical advantage over everybody in that weight class, a wrestling advantage over everyone in that weight class. She's so much better than everyone else in that division. So much better. I mean, honestly, I don't doubt her chances at being flyweight champ either. She could out wrestle Valentina. But what I do worry about in that fight is what if like she kind of gasses out past the first 2 rounds if she doesn't get a finish, and then Valentina, who has good cardio, just starts to put it on her, you know? That's what does kind of worry me a little bit. But what does suck is Tatiana actually had the easiest path to becoming the flyweight champion when Alexa Grasso was champion. And last night proved everything I was saying about a potential rematch between Grasso and Suarez. I've always said that Tatiana has Alexa's number. People kept saying, when I kept mentioning Tatiana's best career wins from Carla to Andrade to Grasso, when Grasso was champion, everyone's like, oh, that win was a long time ago. It would never happen again. She beat a young Alexa. Yeah, so what? And even Alexa today can't even wrestle to save her life. So could you imagine if you put her up against Tatiana Suarez again? Like, do you really think the outcome would be any different than it was last time? Like, the only thing that would be different is maybe Grasso would survive longer. That's it. She'd eventually get submitted again as the rounds go on, or maybe lose a dominant decision. Yeah, Ode was looking good on the feet. DJ, give me a hot take. I don't know. I don't really have any. I don't have any off the top of my head right now. Charles or Chandler? I got Charles Oliveira winning the rematch. I think he has a technical advantage over Michael Chandler. He's more composed, better fight IQ. Also, he's still in his prime. He's active. Chandler, 38 years old, hasn't fought in 2 years, wasted 2 years of his career waiting for Conor McGregor. And now that fight never happened. So yeah, I don't know. I don't think Michael Chandler is going to be anywhere near as good as he was when they fought 3 years ago. Like, if Chandler was a few years younger, I would like his chances in a rematch against Oliveira, but I just think right now, DuBronx, a guy who already finished him, is a horrible matchup for Chandler to come back to. Oliveira has the threat of being able to knock him out. Chandler doesn't really have good defense on the feet, but then he can also submit Chandler on the ground as well, and he's got better cardio. Like, if Chandler's going to win, Michael Chandler better finish him in the first round. Because if the fight goes anywhere past like round one, round two, I just think Chandler's going to fade and Oliveira is going to drown him. And Chandler, he's the kind of guy where it's like, as the fight goes on, he kind of starts to fall apart. Like, he starts good, but the longer you're in there with him, the better chances you have to beat him. Like, he was fighting a perfect fight against Poirier in the second round, and then round three, he got tired and then made a mistake by going for an unnecessary, ill-advised slam against Poirier, which ended up, getting Poirier on his back and ended up getting him submitted. Adesanya, Borelho, uh, that's a good question. I don't know. I mean, it really depends on Israel Adesanya and where he's at physically, mentally. I think Izzy could beat Kyle Barajo, like in his prime, but it's hard to know with Izzy these days. I'd probably pick Kyle Barajo, because my favorite fighters can never win. So yeah, Grasso versus Rose. Honestly, honestly, I think Rose might win that fight against Alexa Grasso. Like, this loss Grasso suffered last night opened up a whole new can of worms for me, honestly. I feel like Grasso got exposed to a whole nother level that she hasn't been exposed before. I really think so. Like, the way Valentina Shevchenko picked her apart in the striking, and then the way she was able to, you know, dominate the grappling like that and keep Grasso out of range, stick and move, make her miss. I can only imagine what Rose could do, and Rose looked really, really sharp in her last fight. Like, Rose could give Grasso a hard time connecting her cleanest shots. Um, Rose Namajunas has better footwork. She has better lateral movement. Rose has well-timed takedowns, and Rose has very good top control on the ground as well. So I could see Rose winning a decision in that fight. But the only thing that could hinder Rose from winning is if she beats Erin, she will have had her third fight won in a row. And the thing about Rose is she can't win 3 fights in a row. She always loses after the third one, which makes no sense. I don't know how that works, but yeah. Hold on a second. Hold on, I'm just typing. I'm trying to log in. Okay, got it. Okay. All right, sorry about that momentary pause. Grasso is still legit, but her and Sean looked weird. I agree. I agree. But I mean, Marab, I don't really think it's how bad Sean looked. I just think I don't know. I just think it's how good Marab was. Marab is just a terrible matchup for Sean. I've been saying that for years. And unfortunately, Sean just isn't good enough to beat a guy like Marab Davalishvili. His only chance to ever beat Marab is if he lands a Hail Mary shot. If he lands a good Hail Mary shot, against Marab, he could win, but he's not a better fighter than Marab. Marab has so many different ways he could win against O'Malley. He could finish Sean O'Malley on a given night, but then he could also win a decision against him, dominate with the wrestling. Styles make fights, and yeah, Marab just is not a good style for O'Malley, and I should have not picked O'Malley to win that fight. Rick Allen, bro. What's up, Rick? What's up, Troy? Glad to have you on the stream. Soul Sala HSM is here on the live for the first time. What's up, Soul Sala? What's up, HSM? Yeah, I'm not okay. I'm not necessarily going anywhere per se, but yeah, I don't know. I just feel really frustrated. And situations like these kind of just make me question what am I doing because of how emotionally invested I get. And I know there's nothing wrong with being attached to fighters. There's nothing wrong with that. But I mean, if it gets to the point where I don't know, I guess if it gets to the point where it's making me that upset, like it's just making me question what am I doing, following the sport so religiously. I need to. I don't know. I need to reassess my mindset, I guess. And you know what? I could just be being dramatic. I've been in positions like this before, and then I've came back sooner than later and started making videos again. How don't you easily see Merab win against Sean O'Malley? I should have seen it, bro. I should have seen it. But good win for Merab, though. I'm interested to see how his title run's gonna look. I'm really interested. Like I can't wait for his next title defense. I know there's some people who are salty about it. I mean, I was kind of disappointed that Sean lost, but I wasn't like mad. Like I was happy for Merab. I was happy to see Merab Dvalishvili, avenge his best friend and teammate Aljamain Sterling, and it worked out for Merab in the end. Merab patiently waited for Aljamain Sterling to, make his mark in the division and then leave. And then he got his shot at someone who beat Aljo. And the best case scenario, the best thing that ever could have happened to Merab happened. He got to win the belt off someone who beat his best friend and teammate. And I couldn't be more happy for him. And I can't wait to see him against Umar or even Deiveson Figueiredo. Who do you guys think deserves the title shot more? Davison Figueiredo or Umar Nurmagomedov? And then who would you guys rather see Merab fight? And I'm not gonna lie, this live stream in a way is kind of cheering me up, just getting things off my chest and interacting with you guys. It's definitely helping. Um, Hold on, let me see. Let me look at these rankings right now. I'm on my laptop. Okay. Oh, they're not updated yet. It still has O'Malley as the champion, but Umar Nurmagomedov is number 2. Deiveson Figueiredo is number 5. So I mean, based off rankings, Umar Nurmagomedov is more deserving. But then at the same time, if you look at resume and what Figueiredo has done, he's beaten more like ranked opponents than Umar. He's beat a former champion in Cody Garbrandt, even though who doesn't beat Cody Garbrandt? Still a good win. He beat Chito Vera in dominant fashion, beat Rob Font in dominant fashion, undefeated in the weight class. He's got that former champ status, but I mean, personally, I would rather see Umar fight Merab just because I think he has the best stylistic chance in the division to beat him. And I don't really see how Deiveson Figueiredo could beat Merab because Deiveson doesn't have that good takedown defense. He's good at rolling with takedowns and scrambling and fighting off his back, but I don't think he's submitting Merab. And on the feet, I don't think he's knocking out Merab either. Merab has very underrated striking defense. Like everyone keeps clinging on to the fact that Marlon Moraes caught him with the left hook 3 years ago, and then Henry caught him with the same left hook. But All in all, Marab is actually very difficult to hit. He moves side to side. He's good at not falling into counters that easily. Like, he's very smart with how he pressures, so I don't think that Davis and Figueiredo would catch him before, Marab gets in on his legs and starts taking him down. Give me predictions on the new rules coming up in November. Jones, John being undefeated and facing Stipe, how the fight goes. I think Stipe wins that fight. I think John Jones wins that fight. I know Troy thinks Stipe wins that fight. And if you're still on this stream, I would love to hear your thoughts on that fight, Troy, and tell us all why you think Stipe wins. Which, I mean, hey, if Stipe somehow comes back after like a 3-year layoff, coming off a knockout loss to Ngannou, where the odds are stacked against him, he faces the great John Jones and he wins. Could you imagine how insane that would be? Were you impressed by Diego Lopez yesterday? Absolutely, I was impressed by Diego Lopez. I thought Diego Lopez looked amazing yesterday. And I mean, I remember saying that Ortega was a big test. What test? If anything, Dan Ige was a bigger test than Brian Ortega. I think Brian Ortega has been very overrated, probably based off his ranking position. I mean, Brian Ortega for years has been gifted the privilege of being able to sit on his top 2 or number 3 ranking for years without even having to fight. But I mean, I don't really think his ranking spot is really I don't really think that says anything about how good he is or his skills. And I'm not trying to say Brian isn't a good fighter, but I don't think all this time he really should have been a top 3 guy in the division. And I feel like last night it showed. And what's crazy about that fight is round 1, I thought it was over. I thought Brian was going to get knocked out. And he almost went to sleep with like that first combination. But then Diego Lopez went to the ground with him. And I mean, I think that if Diego didn't try to finish him on the ground and let him back up and hit him a few more times, he might have put Ortega to sleep in the first round. And now Diego Lopez is going to be the number 3 ranked featherweight contender in the world. And this featherweight division just got real interesting because now you got Topuria as the champion. He's fighting Max Holloway. Can't wait for that. But then you got new contenders like Aljamain Sterling and then Movsar Evloev. And now Diego Lopez in the mix. And I would love to see how Diego would match against someone like Max or Volkanovski. I think he kills Volk at this point. Or Ilia Topuria. Ilia versus Diego would actually be a crazy fight. Like, I would not be surprised if next year Diego Lopez becomes the champion. I don't want to jump the gun and say too soon, yeah, he's gonna become champ, but I would not be surprised if he did. People are already trolling Ortega on social media as if they actually have the guts to step in the octagon. They're fools, obviously. They don't know any better. Like, it takes guts to go out there and to do what Brian Ortega does, you know? I don't see Lopez beating Ilia or Max. I mean, probably not. I would favor those guys to beat him. Of course, I would actually pick Max. Of course, I would pick Ilia to beat him, but that would still be a really, really good fight. Like, with Diego Lopez, you never know. He's got tremendous power. He's extremely fast. He kind of killed the narrative that he has bad cardio. Because against Brian Ortega, he won every single round of that fight. I thought he won the second round clearly after he came on strong in the first round, and he clearly won the third round when he dropped Brian Ortega and then jumped on his back. So I think Diego Lopez has potential to go 5 rounds. And if he can go 5 rounds, if he can be dangerous every single round, that's going to be scary for anyone who has to fight him in a championship setting. And who I would like to see Diego fight next, I want to see him fight the winner of Aljamain Sterling versus Movsar Evloev. If Aljo wins, that's a great fight, a good fight for Diego, because he can take on a former champion. That could be a title eliminator. But then if Evloev wins, that's an opportunity to have a rematch with someone who beat him, and maybe he could beat Evloev in a rematch. But the featherweight division is shaping up to be really good right now. Like, now that guys like Ortega and Yair are kind of being knocked out the top, and Aljamain's taking over, and Evloev's taking over, and Max is on the rebound. He might become champ again. Things are getting interesting, and I hope Max becomes champ again. I hope he beats Ilya. Lopez Allen, that's another good fight. I wouldn't mind seeing that fight either. But I really did not think that Diego Lopez was going to be that big of a problem as he ended up being in the UFC. I really did not think so. But I mean, he is a problem. Dude, it is big for the division. He's got freakish knockout power. Dangerous every single round except for the fight with Dan Ige, but that was short notice. He had to like cut weight twice in 1 week, so that definitely affected him. But again, um, what am I trying to say? I'm having like a brain fart right now. But yeah, he's got freakish power. He's dangerous every single round, and he's a threat everywhere from the striking to the grappling. And he's young. This guy's only going to get better for years to come. Like, the best is yet to come for Diego, and he's not even in his prime yet. Yeah, he looked way bigger than Brian Ortega. He looked huge. I think the striking would be competitive for sure. But there would be a good chance that Allen gets caught. I mean, Max Holloway dropped him. He got dropped by dehydrated Dan Hooker. And Diego has a lot of power. And I mean, if Lopez could land one good on the chin, Lopez could hurt him worse than Holloway was able to hurt him. So who knows? What about Holloway and Lopez? I think Max Holloway would beat Diego Lopez. I think he'd beat him very handily too. I mean, it would be a dangerous fight for him, but I mean, if another Hawaiian who's not as good as Max was able to break him in the third round, could you imagine Holloway? I think Max Holloway would control the pace of that fight. I don't think he'd allow Diego Lopez to swarm him in the first round. Max has a way better chin than Brian Ortega, so I don't think he's going to get dropped by Lopez. I mean, Lopez might stun him, but Max Holloway has shown he can fight you technically, but he can also throw down. Max can also counter you as well, and he can also knock you out. Like, he's got power. He sits down and his punches better than he used to. So I think Max would win. Just he has way too much experience. He's too tough, more technical, and way better cardio. At this point, Lopez might have to move up eventually. Like, the older he gets, the harder it's going to be for him to cut weight. The harder it's going to be for him to make the weight. Oh yeah, yeah. Ilya Lopez would definitely not go the distance. Someone's definitely gonna get knocked out in that fight. That would be a crazy fight, especially with the way Lopez approaches fights. He comes out like a bat out of hell, swinging like crazy. But I do think Ilya Taporia is more technical than Diego, more defensively sound than Diego, and he would have a good chance of countering Diego's blitz. However, if Lopez does catch Ilya, I don't know if Ilya Topuria is gonna have as good of a chin as an Ortega to handle that power or that onslaught. Like there's a good chance that Diego could knock him out if he touches him. I mean, Jai Herbert was able to drop him for crying out loud. And if Diego hurts him, I don't think there's gonna be a recovery process for Ilya Topuria in that fight. Oh, that would have been a great fight too, but I think Diego would win because of his grappling. I think Lopez would probably just mix it up and take him down and submit him. Because not Brian, Yair just isn't very good on the ground. And he doesn't have the greatest takedown defense. So I think that would be a very good matchup for someone like Diego Lopez. What about a potential fight between Gaethje and Lopez? Ooh, that would be crazy. I got Gaethje though. Gaethje's a guy you can never count out. Like the last time I picked a prospect to beat Gaethje, we saw what Gaethje did when he fought Fiziev. So I think Lopez would probably get KO'd by Gaethje. I'm not gonna lie, but I mean, you know what? That's such an interesting fight because Justin Gaethje does not like getting pressured. He does not like pressure. Diego Lopez is kind of similar to Charles Oliveira in a way because he's very dangerous standing, but then also very dangerous on the ground. And he pressures a lot. He comes forward a lot in every single fight. He's a very strong starter, like Dubronx. So I don't know. I could see him coming out like a bat out of hell against Justin Gaethje, rocking him early, like Oliveira did. But then who knows? He could run into a counter and get dropped like Charles. And I don't know if Diego would be as tough as Charles to be able to recover and come back. But also, Gaethje does not have a very good ground game. His jiu-jitsu is terrible. And if Diego Lopez has any chance to get him on the ground, he is 100% submitting Justin Gaethje. But to be safe, I'm going to go with Gaethje, but I could see a way Lopez could actually win that fight, funny enough. Me personally, I think Gaethje can crack him. He can. Totally. He totally could crack him. Um If Lopez swarms on Gaethje like he did Ortega, best believe he's going to eat punches. Oh, he will. He will. Like, there's a chance he might knock out Gaethje or drop and sub him in the opening exchange, but there's also a big chance he might run into a counter uppercut or a counter check hook or a counter overhand and end up on his ass. And Gaethje may not be as afraid to follow. He might not be as afraid to follow Justin to the ground or Lopez to the ground as he was Oliveira because I don't think Lopez is as good off his back as Charles Oliveira is. So he might be able to go to the ground with him and like ground and pound him, honestly. Oh yeah, they didn't phase him at all. I think Michael Chandler could probably crack him too. I would not be surprised. I think there's tougher tests out there beyond Brian Ortega that Lopez is yet to face. So yeah, you could be right. I would not count out Chandler's chances in that fight. That would be a wild fight, Diego Lopez versus Michael Chandler. Oh shit. I got Dan Hooker winning that fight. I think Lopez would hurt him early, but Dan Hooker seems to get stronger the more you hurt him. So if Lopez doesn't finish him after initially stunning him, if he doesn't drop and sub him, and Dan Hooker survives and stays in the fight, he's gonna punish Diego Lopez. He's gonna break him down, and he's probably gonna end up finishing Lopez. Or maybe he'll win a decision like he did against Gamrot, where he got swarmed early, then came back to hurt him, won a decision, and like he did against Jalen Turner as well. And I'm liking Dan Hooker's recent rebound. I'm really liking it. Like, I'm glad that Dan Hooker is a top 5 lightweight again. It feels like 2020 all over again. I remember being on the Dan Hooker train in 2019 when he knocked out James Vick and dominated Ally Quinta, and then had that war with Paul Felder, even though a lot of people thought he robbed Paul. I'm like, yo, this Dan Hooker guy is really good. Like, I was invested in Dan Hooker, and I was really disappointed when he lost to Dustin Poirier. That was pretty sad. When he lost to Dustin and went on that losing streak. And I remember just kind of thinking, like, the more losses this guy took, I thought, man, it's over for Dan Hooker. I don't think he's ever going to see the top 5 again. But here he is, 2024. He's a top 5 lightweight again. And he could get a fight with a Justin Gaethje or a rematch with a Dustin Poirier potentially. Like, he's in a position to get a title eliminator now, which is crazy. Imagine if he fought Ferguson, will be too slow. Imagine if he fought Ferguson. Ferguson will be too slow to keep up with Lopez. That would be brutal. Like, why is that even a conversation? Like, Tony would die to Diego Lopez, man. That's evil. That's evil matchmaking. No, that was July 2019. You can look it up. July 2019, UFC San Antonio, Edwards versus Dos Anjos. On that card, Dan Hooker versus James Vick was on it. And there was another lightweight fight. It was the Hernandez guy versus Francisco Trinaldo. It's possible. I mean, Arnold does have power. He is a good counterpuncher, and Lopez can be very reckless on the feet, so it's very possible that he could be caught by something. I wouldn't doubt that. Yeah, Hooker and Felder, that was the 2020 fight. Before the world went to shit with the pandemic for 2 years. Although, not gonna lie, the pandemic era was pretty good, though. Like, MMA during the COVID times, like, I don't know, the Fight Island era was pretty fun. I don't really miss the Apex events. I'm bored of the Apex, but Fight Island was cool. We saw so many good cards, so many good fight nights on Fight Island. We had that card with Sanhagen versus Marlon Moraes, where we had so many future champions on that card, like Tom Aspinall, Dricus du Plessis, and Ilia Topuria. And I remember watching that card, and I never thought that either 3 of those guys would go on to be as big as they were. I didn't suspect Aspinall to be a future champion back then. I didn't think Dricus was a future champion. I didn't think he was going to go on to beat Whitaker and Izzy. I didn't think that Topuria was going to be the one to dethrone Alexander Volkanovski. I never could have imagined that. And also on that card, we had that highlight reel KO from Buckley when he knocked out Impa Kasanganay when he landed that like jumping, spinning back kick. That card was wild. And then the next one, which was Ortega versus Zombie, and they had Andrade versus Chikagan on there, where Jessica established herself as like a top contender in that division in flyweight. And there were some other good fights on that card too. And then we had UFC 254. That was a good card in Fight Island. UFC 251 was a good card too. Like, I enjoyed the Fight Island pay-per-views. They were stacked. So many great fights. I remember Usman Masvidal, like Masvidal saving that card when Burns pulled out. Volkanovski Holloway 2, that was a good fight. Peter Yan and Jose Aldo, Rose Jessica. And then Yuri Prochazka's debut on that same card. Like, Fight Island, like, really brought us some great moments. You think Aaron is out there studying these last 3 Valentina fights? I think everyone's studying her last 3 fights. Because now all eyes are on her again. She's the girl to beat now. Now that she's the champion, like, everyone's going to be preparing to fight her. She's got the target on her back, so everyone has been studying her fights. But going forward, what is interesting is Valentina Shevchenko doesn't have that fear factor anymore. I know she dominated Alexa Grasso, but this division has came such a long way now. And I think more girls going forward are going to be confident that they could beat Valentina Shevchenko. If Alexa Grasso could that one time and could almost do it again that second time, there's plenty of other girls out there, I'm sure, are watching those fights thinking like, hey, if Grasso could do it, I could do it. I know Furo's confident. I think Aaron's confident. Hell, I think Rose is confident too. I think Sean O'Malley should fight Corey Sandhagen next. I mean, both are coming off losses. Yeah, that's the fight to make. That's the fight I've wanted to see for years. O'Malley Sandhagen. That would be a great fight. That would be a really, really fun fight, honestly. I'd love to watch that fight. Because both guys are tall, lanky strikers. Corey Sandhagen's a bit more well-rounded, but O'Malley has better boxing. But what's interesting about that fight is Corey, again, he matches him with attributes. Even though his boxing isn't as good, even though he doesn't hit as hard, I still think he can do good enough. I think he can still keep up with I still think Corey could keep up with O'Malley in the stand-up and have his moments. Val versus Manon, 50-50 fight. I'll just go with Val to be safe. I jumped the gun last night saying Manon beats her because I was bitter, and I'm still bitter that she dominated Alexa Grasso. But Valentina will probably be faster and pick her apart on the feet. But Manon has a better chance than Alexa because I don't think Manon has to worry about being hugged and held down for 25 minutes like Alexa Grasso did. Because, Manon's not weak and doesn't have pathetic takedown defense like Alexa Grasso. And she can get off her back if she does get taken down. And you know what's sad? If Taila Santos didn't get cut from the UFC, I think she could still beat Valentina Shevchenko right now. I think if there was a rematch, I think Taila Santos could still defeat Valentina Shevchenko, and I would not be surprised. Taila Santos was the perfect style to go up against Shevchenko because she had size on her, a strength advantage. She was the only person that Valentina could not outgrapple. And she dominated Valentina on the ground. Now, even though maybe, yeah, Val could have won from damage and more significant strikes, going forward, Tyla could have made the adjustments of being more active on the ground against Valentina Shevchenko, doing more ground and pound on the ground with her. Like, Tyla was a bad matchup for Valentina. Of course, they're thinking they can do it. Rose. Yeah, Rose would have a chance against Val, but like only on the feet. But unfortunately, I think Rose would run into the same problems that Grasso did, of having a chance on the feet but not being able to defend the takedowns. I think O'Malley would have a great professional boxing career. He could. I mean, if O'Malley started off as a boxer and committed to boxing instead of MMA, he probably would have had a good boxing career. That was before that was one before Ortega and Lopez was, or that one before Ortega Lopez was pretty good. Oh yeah, the Zellhuber Ribovics fight. Yeah, that fight was sick. That was a really good fight. And it was crazy how like Zellhuber like dropped Ribovics with that elbow. Ribovics gets up, has him out on his feet, has Zellhuber like a zombie, but Zellhuber is staying in there, swinging back, and then he continues to stun Ribovics. Like that was definitely a fight of the night right there. For sure. Yeah, I know what you were trying to say. I get it. Please don't think I'm slow. Nah, bro, you're good. You're good. Typos happen. Honestly, I probably shouldn't have made this live video, to be honest. Because even though, I am being vulnerable with how I feel and stuff and how this sport is kind of frustrating me, especially with last night feeling like the nail in the coffin, still, I don't know. I don't want to look like a whiny little bitch. That's not the impression I want to leave on people and then open myself up to be a target or a laughing stock. But I'm being authentic with how I feel. So, and I'm standing on that. Also, Torin, I noticed your Instagram is gone. What happened? I don't see you on the gram anymore. Yeah, I thought he was trolling too. Or I'm like, he'll be back. But no, he really meant it. He meant it more than I did. Dang, that sucks. Speaking of termination, I hope my YouTube doesn't get terminated because I already had 2 copyright strikes on this channel, unfortunately. And then, okay, strike 3, it wasn't a copyright strike, but I got my comment removed. I got a community post removed because I said the F word. I was like, FMMA, because Grasso lost. I completely crashed out, made that post, said the full FUCK word, and I got the post taken down. So I hope this not going to count as a 3 total strikes. That means that my channel is like in danger of being taken down in 3 years' time because I do not want to have to start over from the ground up again, okay? It was hell to do it the first time, okay? I worked hard to get 2,000 subscribers. I got that taken away from me. I'm just barely scraping 1K again. I am not starting over. As a man, you can't express your emotions if you do look if you are looked at like you are a whiny little bee. And that's exactly why a lot of men suffer in silence and why suicide rate is skyrocketing with men. Yeah, it's totally sad. And I'm not trying to say that, MMA is like it's really hurting my mental health and it's sending me into a depression. That's not what I'm saying, but again, I'm being real. I'm being extremely real right now. Like that one comment in this live said DJC is broken. And that comment is exactly right. Last night was like if UFC 268 went the complete opposite. Like, could you imagine if that night Kamaru and Rose both lost instead of them both winning? That would have been terrible. That would have sucked. But yeah, yeah, exactly. They're extremely toxic. Extremely toxic. People in this live who came in were trolling me being toxic. One guy was trying to rub it in my face. I ignored that comment in this live. So many people in my comment section are just rubbing it in. And I get that's what comes with it. That's what comes with being a content creator. You're going to have haters, you're going to have trolls and stuff. And yeah, I guess that's what comes with supporting fighters and really believing in fighters. But it's just so annoying how much I got crapped on for supporting Alexa Grasso for so long. And it's not like I was being disrespectful to Valentina. I was respectful to her in the lead up. I just really truly believed in Alexa Grasso's skills, and I don't think I deserved that. Um, with Aldana, I could understand because with her, I was being more, I was a little off my rocker when it came to Irina Aldana. I will admit that. I will admit that I was disrespecting the greatest of all time, Amanda Nunes. I was disrespecting Holly Holm. I was disrespecting everybody that she was facing or anyone who was a potential opponent. I could totally get that. But not with Grasso. And also, I can't understand. I don't understand how Grasso can have any haters. Like, checking my phone after she lost, like, you won't be able to believe how many, like, messages I got saying, or comments I read saying, I'm so happy Alexa lost. Like, I didn't see people saying, you know what, I'm happy for Val. I'm happy that Val bounced back. No, they were happy for Alexa's downfall because she never should have been champion because she sucks. Because she's a fluke champion. Like, so many people were hating on her, saying, thank God she lost. Like, what did Grasso do? Like, I could understand the Pena hate, but how could you hate Alexa Grasso? That woman is innocent. It's DJC underscore combat. What I learned, oh wow, you're 29 years old. That's crazy. What I learned from 29 years on this earth is your pain is a lot of people's entertainment. Yeah, that's true. That's very true. That is very true. A lot of people take joy in the suffering of others. And that's why so many people were so happy to see Irene and Alexa lose because of me. Because they want to see my reaction. They want to see me upset. Even people who are like supposed to be my friends are like, "Oh, I'm glad Alexa lost because it's funny because of DJC." I don't really feel like disclosing my real name on here, although I think a lot of people know it. Still, a lot of people were like, "Yeah, I'm happy because it's making DJC upset. It's making him sad. It's making him sad. That makes me happy. It's entertaining." All right, I'll follow you back. People over there trolling Ortega. He's a good dude. Not sure why they're bothering him. Yeah, Ortega's a good guy. Maybe like overrated. He may have not deserved to be ranked top three for 2 years while being inactive. But I mean, yeah, he's not a bad guy. And earlier in this live, I thought I explained well, like what it is that's kind of annoying me about the sport, and I know it's something I have to get used to, but I feel like it's just not going to get any better. And I feel like MMA kind of died after UFC 287 for me, but really, MMA ended for me in 2021. 2023 had its moments. This year had its moments. 2022 was god awful for me as a fan. But 2021 and 2019 were like perfect years. 2020 was a decent year, but 2021 was amazing. I loved that year. And there were some frustrating moments, but I had way more happy moments than I had sad or disappointing moments. I don't think Ortega's mental health is the best either. He seems depressed. I know, and just him talking about his journey, I'm not surprised. Like, he's been through a lot, lost a lot of friends, been through some breakups and stuff like that. So I totally understand. Sadly, people are still messing Hill too. He put up a picture of his dad on Instagram saying happy birthday here, and then here comes the troll saying Alex is still your daddy. It's stupid. It's really stupid. It's really fucking stupid. I mean, I get it. You reap what you sow. Jamal Hill did a lot of talking before the fight, but come on, like moments like that is just not appropriate. Man, I wish Jamal Hill fought on June 29th. It's so annoying that he had to pull out of UFC 303 because I want to see Jamal Hill back. I want to see Jamal Hill's redemption. I want to see his redemption story and for him to kind of prove a lot of people wrong, but I guess we're going to have to wait a little bit longer for that to happen. Yeah, I know. He's been silent. I mean, as he should be. Because he's not doing himself any favors by, like, complaining about the loss and coping about it. Because it's just only giving these people more ammunition to talk about him in a negative light. I mean, trolls are going to troll, bro. That's how the internet works. Chiweewees. Oh yeah, Mr. Chiweewees won last night. I wish some of those trolls had the guts to mess with Hill in real life. Same, and Jamal Hill was challenging them to like spar him in the gym and no one stepped up. But speaking of Jamal Hill, um I would have loved to see him fight Yuri Prohaska in his next fight. I think that would be an absolute banger. And I think they need to make that fight for UFC 310. That'd be a perfect addition for that card. And also, let's talk about the UFC 309 main card. Look at me saying I'm going to quit MMA, and I'm passionately talking MMA in this entire live. I went from moping in the beginning, and now I feel like I'm in better spirits. But UFC 309, that card really disappoints me. I'm disappointed, not that Oliveira Chandler's on the card and that's 5 rounds. I'm disappointed that it's a co-main event and that there's no chance of any other title fights being added, meaning Zhang Weili versus Tatiana Suarez is not going to get booked. That's really frustrating, you know? And Tatiana and Weili were both at the Sphere last night. They could have announced that fight last night and then had them in the crowd cam, like on a split camera. That would have been so cool, but no, missed opportunity. So I mean, I don't know what they're gonna do with the women's strawweight division. And then like I read Natalia Silva versus Vivi Araujo. I mean, I hope that was a mistake. I heard that was a mistake, and that it's actually Korean Silva versus Vivi. I would hope that they're not doing a pointless rematch with freaking Vivi and Natalia. Then Bo Nichols, the feature fight against Paul Craig. Weidman's on the main card, I think. Anthony Smith Reyes. I feel like that card could be a little bit better than it already is, you know? I'm just not feeling it. But I am happy that Jones Stipe is happening, and I hope we finally get that fight over with. Finally. Yeah, I think he'll beat him again too. I think he'll finish him. I think he'll knock him out again, except this time I think it's going to be a more cleaner performance. I think he's going to be in way more control of this fight than he was the first fight. I wonder who Connor's going to fight, though. Who is he going to fight early next year? That's the question. I mean, Conor could fight the winner of this fight potentially. I could see that maybe. I mean, maybe he could fight Dan Hooker. Oh, you know what? I think it will be Masvidal because Masvidal is talking about coming back. I think the fight to make is Masvidal McGregor. I just solved the problem right there. And I hope for Chandler's sake he could win this fight and secure the Conor fight, but I don't think that's happening, man. Oh, I feel like I'm about to sneeze. Hold on a second. Okay, I don't think it's gonna come out. But that is sad for Chandler because he really does deserve that fight with Conor. Like he's been a company man. He's given us so many exciting fights. He's always showed up, never pulled out. I feel like he deserves the payday with Conor, and if he retires without ever fighting Conor, I'm gonna feel so bad. I think so too, and the thing about that as well is Oliveira's defense has improved from that first fight. He actually has better striking defense now. So I don't think he's going to be as easy to clip like he was the first time around. Like I said, he's already the more technical striker. I already got an idea of who Conor is going to fight because he likes easy wins against washed up dudes who he thinks he's going to beat. I'm predicting Tony Ferguson. I think Tony's fighting Nick Diaz. I'm hearing that fight's in the works for UFC 311, so probably not. But if that's just a rumor, they could make that fight. Chandler's striking could be better after preparing for a striker like Conor for years, and he trained hard. Hey, you could be onto something. I don't doubt that, but we're just gonna have to see when the fight plays out, I guess. And I hope you're right. I hope you're right, and I do hope that Michael Chandler comes back and wins. I'm praying that he can knock out Charles Oliveira and get that top two spot in the division because like this is like a redemption story for Michael Chandler to go from losing out on a Conor McGregor fight to having to switch opponents. The odds are stacked against him. He's taking on a scary, highly ranked contender in their prime. It would just be so special if he could get the job done. So I do hope that this layoff and waiting for Conor, I do hope that it's not going to affect him going forward physically or mentally or even like skill wise. But I just said earlier, though, that they could do Masvidal McGregor. I know, Troy, you were talking about that fight, Masvidal McGregor, as the fight to make. Super Bowl weekend 2025, that could be the fight. Or maybe even UFC 311. That could be the fight as well. But I just think the stars are perfectly aligning for that matchup because Jorge's talking about coming back soon. And Conor McGregor is going to come back eventually. He's not going to be gone forever. He will come back. And I think the perfect dance partner is Masvidal. I think that fight's going to sell huge numbers. I don't care how hard Chandler is training. Charles is going to beat his butt again. He's going to do it. He's going to be better everywhere. That is the more likely outcome on paper, yes. On paper, Charles Oliveira should beat Chandler again, but you never know. The stars were always aligned, but for some reason, the UFC never drew the lines. Yeah, the UFC has a knack for missing like obvious opportunities. I don't know why. I mean, honestly, that was the obvious fight to make since after Conor McGregor knocked out Cerrone. Like, if it weren't for the pandemic, they could have made Masvidal versus McGregor in the summer of 2020 for the BMF belt, and that would have been huge. But as long as we get to see it, I'm happy. And at this point, I wonder who would win between Conor McGregor and Michael Chandler, because both guys are or sorry, not Conor and Chandler. I mean Conor and Masvidal, because both guys are washed up. Masvidal could be dangerous for Conor because he does have durability. He does have the boxing to keep up with Conor. He's got the power. He can mix up the grappling. But then Conor McGregor could also catch Masvidal too. He could also go out there and outstrike Conor. Or sorry, outstrike Masvidal. Honestly, I wish Masvidal McGregor would have happened at UFC 246, January 2020, 2 months after Masvidal beat Nate Diaz. Yeah, he did. He did. Would you say he looked less washed than McGregor did in his last fight? Not tonight, but Lalita. But last night they took hella L's, and it just had to lead to Grasso losing. But I don't want to talk about that anymore. Yeah, I did. I talked about that. I thought that Ode looked great early, and I thought that he fumbled the knockout in the first round by going for the submission attempt because it allowed Ronaldo to recover and then get back in the fight. So, yeah. But let's see how the next pay-per-view shapes out. Like, yes, regardless of what the title of this live stream says, I'm going to be watching and we'll see how I feel. Like, the closer the fight, the closer the card gets, we'll see how I feel in terms of, having the motivation to do a breakdown and prediction video for the card because I could go out there and do it. But I just don't know. But luckily, apart from Pena Pennington, there's really no other fights on that card that I'm like emotionally invested in heavily. Like the Pereira Roundtree fight, I don't really care about the outcome of that matchup. I'm just excited to see a good fight between two sluggers and to see Alex Pereira competing again. I'm excited to see Pena back. I'm I'm hyped to see the fight between Aljo and Evloev, two high level grapplers with underrated striking. I'm hyped to see Aldo back. It's gonna be a good night. And then the pay per view I really can't wait for is UFC 308. That one's gonna be fire. And that's definitely a card I'm not missing. Did you know two judges scored the second round 10-8? Ode got a 10-8 in round two. How is that possible? He lost round two very clearly. He clearly lost that round. Maybe like the first round, that could have been a 10-8 for Ode. But I don't even think that was a 10-8 to be honest, because Ronaldo did end that round on top with the grappling. So I would say that is a 10-9 round, in all honesty, if we're being real. Um, but yeah, round two definitely ain't no 10-8 unless it was a 10-8 for Ronaldo. They're not bad. Oh, hold on, let me read. If I'm matchmaking a UFC 311, I'm making main event Masvidal Conor, co-main Conor Tony. I would also add Hooker versus Gaethje. Yeah, now you're cooking. Now you're talking. That's a good lineup right there. I don't mind that at all. I think your matchmaking skills are fantastic, Toron. I admire them. I would also add Usman JDM to the card. Which oh yeah, yeah, me too. I mean, that would mean Usman will have not fought at all in 2024. I would like to see Kamaru Usman on one of these 2024 pay-per-views. Um, I would much prefer that. But I mean, if as long as Usman comes back and competes, that's all that matters. So, and that would be a pretty good fight, Kamaru Usman and Jack Della Maddalena. And then you could also do Ian Gary versus Leon Edwards. Um, and then Bilal versus Shavkat Rakhmonov. Even if Rakhmonov isn't really that deserving of a title shot, you could still give him the shot, honestly. Wouldn't be a bad idea. But you know, one fight I really want to see in the welterweight division, I really want to see Carlos Prates versus I want to see Prates fight Michael Venom Page. Like two high level strikers in the welterweight division. That would be insane. I'm not mad at the Alex Roundtree fight. I am. I think Ankalaev deserved the shot. But whatever. Circumstances didn't favor him, so it is what it is. It's still going to be a good fight and another phenomenal performance from Alex Pereira. I think Alex Pereira takes him out in one. But I mean, could you imagine if Khalil won, though? That would be crazy. If Usman and JDM fought, who would you favor to win, Toron? Because, I mean, I could see Usman winning that fight with his wrestling, but Usman isn't really in his prime anymore. And Jack Della Maddalena has really dangerous boxing. He's got good power, so yeah, Usman probably should win that fight. But if JDM were to beat him, I wouldn't be surprised. John Jones and Alex Pereira partying. And why? I don't know. They just vibe together really well, I guess. Um, I did. You could watch it back when it's done, I guess. But yeah, I already talked about it. Oh, you meant Ode got 10-8'd? Because I mean that would make more sense if in round two he got 10-8'd. Oh, 7 views popped in. Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't think that was a 10-8 for Rodriguez. That's kind of weird because he didn't really do any damage to Ode Osborne. He just kind of held him down, held his back, had like the back mount, but he didn't really like. It's not like he destroyed him in that round or dominated the round. That was not a 10-8 worthy round for that was not a 10-8 worthy round for Ronaldo Rodriguez. Not by any means. Boy, they too much shit on the internet. I just posted my potential UFC 311 thing to an MMA group, so Jackass comes to me saying that's why you're not a matchmaker. Screw him. You're just giving your opinions and you're not doing anything wrong. So I don't see why he has a problem with that. I would like for Roundtree to win. Me too, because it would be funny seeing a cherry pick go wrong. But I mean, all likelihood that's not happening. But it would be funny if somehow he won. I would laugh. So I'm not hating Alex, but that would just be hilarious if Roundtree became the champion. The internet has made so many tough typing. Okay. If Roundtree wins, it's going to be a lot of excuses made. They won't give him his props. Of course, just like when Grasso and Pena won. And yeah, every time someone beats someone they're not supposed to beat, it's a fluke, and rarely does that said someone ever win a rematch unless that someone is Rose. Nobody vibes with John Jones. Well, they do now. I mean, Ryan Garcia vibed with him, Poatan vibed with him, Nina Drama vibed with him. I think Adesanya and Alex vibe better. Yeah, I don't think they do. They're just salty. They're salty that the potential megastar lost. I mean, I was kind of sad that O'Malley lost as well, but you can't hate Marab. Like Marab is just going out there doing his job and he's winning. Like you can't hate the man for winning. The only thing that Marab has done that annoyed me was kind of killing off other contenders while Aljo was champ, but then refusing to fight the champion. Yeah, I know Aljo was his friend, but friends fight friends with titles on the line all the time. That's not uncommon for training partners to fight each other. And I mean, a belt being on the line should be a good reason to want to fight each other. And look, I respect Marab's loyalty. I'm not crapping on that. Like, he has a right to make his career decision. I'm not one to judge, but I personally don't agree. I personally didn't agree with how he handled that whole situation, and I didn't like how he retired Aldo, ruined Aldo's title shot just to not fight for the belt next. But who cares? Things worked out in the end because Aljo eventually was dethroned, and Marab got to become champ in the long run. So it's not really worth complaining about. So other than that, I don't really have a problem with Marab, and he's not even boring. Like, Marab is actually an exciting fighter. They also hated on the dude who beat Leon Edwards. Of course, they hated on Bilal Muhammad. No one remembers the name Bilal Muhammad. They made so much fun of his remember the name nickname. But now they remember his name, so they remember his name now. If Alex fights Dricus at 185 and loses, it's going to be a lot of excuses. Of course, I shouldn't have cut back down a weight. Dude, if Alex fights Dricus at 185, that is going to be the dumbest career decision he could ever make. Like, he's literally fighting to Dricus's advantage, draining himself, killing himself to make the weight. And he's going to be fighting a healthy, strong Dricus, while himself, he's going to be depleted and weak and chinny. But if he fights Dricus at 205, that would be way smarter. But could you imagine if Dricus du Plessis beat Poatan? He would then have wins. He'd be the only guy to beat Whitaker, Izzy, and Poatan. He'd be the only guy to have those three names on his resume while being successful. That's insane. Oh, this trick again. You thought Van robbed Chirez? Because I thought he kind of won that fight pretty handily. Don't listen to him. He's trolling. He wants me to say a certain word on this stream, and I'm not going to say it. Toron, I see you everywhere, bro. Van won. Yeah, of course he did. But yeah, I know you're joking. Like, I mean, you don't have to remove your post. You could just block people, or if you're posting in your story, you could just hide your stories from people. Like, you don't have to put up with people's shit and then hide what you do on social media out of shame. If Roundtree wins, Alex can drop one more time, yeah, and then go on a losing streak. Well, he is coming back. It's inevitable. It may take a while, it may take longer than we want, but the fact that this guy was literally close to coming back until he pulled out. He had a fight booked. Of course, the UFC is going to book a fight with him again. The UFC right now, they're shelving Conor because they don't really see many pay-per-view slots open for him at the moment. There's so many title fights being booked per year. And of course, the UFC, they're not going to make a title fight co-headline a Conor card, and they're not going to make Conor co-headline a title fight card. So they're trying to explore their options, see which cards are available, and maybe 2024 right now is completely booked up, but the guy is coming back. He will fight again, even if it's his last. He is going to come back. He is going to complete his contract, and he's at least going to have one more fight. So it's not a hot take to think he's going to fight again. Whose bath water are you drinking right after the fight, Chev or Grass? You have to pick. There's a shotgun. Yeah, obviously Alexa. Yeah, he did. I'm pretty sure he stated that he'll fight in January, so we'll probably see him at UFC 311, which honestly isn't bad. That's like 6 months after he was already supposed to return at UFC 303 in June. Yeah, him being at 185 is dumb. 205 is another story. Can you imagine Duplessis at 205? That would be interesting, seeing Dricus, because I know Dricus is a big guy. Dricus is huge. He cuts a lot of weight, so imagine a Dricus not having to cut that much weight. He'd definitely be more dangerous up a weight class. I have no doubt about that at all. Probably weighing 215 going into the cage. Yeah, I don't doubt that. Wait, hold on a second. I'm gonna mute myself. Okay, I'm back. I hope they give Connor shorts for his like custom shorts. I'm sure they will. Like Connor's like the biggest superstar in the sport. They're definitely gonna give him custom shorts for sure. They're not gonna give him the basic green Venom trunks. They'd be doing him no favors. If Holloway and Poirier and Adesanya and Duplessis could get their own custom shorts, Connor will definitely get his own custom shorts. Alexa is a true champion. Yep, she is. She's a champion at heart. And even though she lost the belt, even though the worst that possibly could happen happens, I'm grateful that she was the champion. And once you become the champion, that stays forever. People can talk all the crap they want about her getting lucky against Valentina Shevchenko and that she never should have won. People can say whatever the fuck they want. The fact that she was champion, that's all that matters. Like, if she would have lost the first time and never touched gold, that would have been way worse. Yeah, because it's a great take. Like, fighters who touch down and win belts deserve respect based off the fact that they were even able to become champion. Doesn't matter how good or bad they are. If you become a champion, that in itself is like a huge accomplishment. Like, you made it. That's going to be part of your legacy forever, no matter what. No matter what the haters say. Maybe Irina affected Grasso. That was something I was like kind of worried about. Um, I was definitely worried, like, man, what if she has to see one of her teammates lose? How is that going to affect her going into her own fight? I mean, I understand Grasso has to focus on her own mission, on her own fight. Um, but again, that could definitely take a hit on her mentally. I don't know if that had anything to do with her bad, god awful performance. Probably not, but who knows? But I mean, at least she had Diego Lopez. She got the encouragement of Diego Lopez dominating Brian Ortega, so it can't be that bad. I mean, I could understand if Aldana and Lopez lost, that it could have been a lot worse then. Thoughts on how bad Whaley is gonna do Tatiana Suarez? Um, my thoughts is I have no thoughts because that's not gonna happen, and wrestlers are taking over the sport. They're taking over championship fights. Dricus Duplessis, I have Instagram open on my laptop right now, and there's a post from MMA Feed saying, how do you beat a slick striking champion? Literally cardio. And it has Marab, Dricus, Pantoja, and Bilal, all four in this picture. So, and Tatiana Suarez is one of the best wrestlers in women's MMA, so her time is coming soon, and Whaley's about to get herself mauled. So she can delay Tatiana all she wants, but she cannot deny her. And she will lose to Tatiana Suarez. And when she does, I want to know your thoughts when it happens. What if Whaley loses? Doesn't matter. Does not matter at all. Like, Whaley finished Jessica Andrade in 40 seconds. Rose Namajunas beat Jessica by split decision, but then it only took her under a minute to knock out Zhang Weili. So that means absolutely nothing. Like, just because she finished someone faster doesn't automatically make her a better fighter. That logic is so stupid. And I'm not even like denying Zhang Weili's chances to win this fight. She could win. Like, worst comes to worst, I could see her winning a damage based decision. Like, I could see her doing a lot of damage on the feet. Maybe Tatiana takes her down, but doesn't do much with the takedowns. And maybe Weili is able to get up and have more big moments on the feet. But I am going to predict that Suarez is going to be able to dominate with her wrestling and do a lot of damage on the ground, dominate almost every round with her wrestling, and either win by a late sub or a decision. I need to refill my water bottle because my mouth is getting dry. Hold on. All right, I'm back. Yep, innocent dim sum, he gets it. Tatiana is going to win. It's inevitable. It's her destiny to become the champion. And I'm going to stay true to my prediction. I don't care if I'm wrong. I'm going to predict it regardless. I'm going to support my fighter regardless. And we will see what happens. May the best woman win. May the better predictor be right. But this is my opinion, and I'm gonna stick with it. And you can't compare Tatiana Suarez to Irene Aldana and Alexa Grasso. That's just fucking stupid. Like, how could you compare Aldana to Tatiana Suarez? What is there to compare? As much as I like Aldana, she's very one-dimensional in her style. Unfortunately, she's not on the level that I thought she was. Tatiana has a style about her that makes her very hard to beat. Whereas Aldana, all you have to do is have good footwork, move side to side, don't stand in front of her, be slightly more technical on the feet, maybe even have some good grappling. And then to beat Alexa, you just got to be a really good wrestler. You have to be more complete than her to beat her. To beat Tatiana Suarez, everyone knows what she wants to do, but that game plan of stuffing takedowns and outstriking her, everyone has tried to do it, and 10 people have failed to do so. Maybe Weili could be the first, but it's not a given. And I think Tatiana is a better fighter than Alexa Grasso, and Valentina Shevchenko is a way better fighter than Zhang Weili. Okay, she's way more harder to beat than Zhang. And Grasso is more beatable than Tatiana Suarez. So there's a huge difference there. And if I'm wrong, okay, I'll admit that I was wrong and I assessed things the wrong way. But right now, I just see Weili. I see Tatiana as a nightmare matchup for Zhang Weili. Zhang Weili's takedown defense, it's okay, but it's not that good. She got taken down 3 times by Yan Xiaonan. Rose took her down multiple times, held her down every time she did. Why can't a high-level wrestler in Tatiana Suarez do the same? And also, Zhang Weili has a bad habit of engaging in the clinch. And with her stature, the way she's built, the way she strikes, her striking style is based upon short distance striking and then clinching you up and then trying to batter you in the clinch. But that's just not going to work against Tatiana. If you clinch with Tatiana, you're playing in Tatiana Suarez's world. You're giving her what she wants. The best case scenario is she gets a hold of you and then you're in her world. I think a style that would give Tatiana problems is a striker who fights more with like long range, a long distance striker who moves around the outside and keeps distance. A short distance striker who tries to fight on the inside is the perfect kind of opponent for Tatiana Suarez. Like Jessica Andrade, for example. Even though Weili's better than Jessica, still. Is Weili moving up? I mean, she could. If she wanted to move up and fight Valentina right now, she has a good case for it, but I would rather see her beat Tatiana first. If she can beat Tatiana, she has every right to move up and fight Valentina Shevchenko. Every right to. I mean, she'd get her ass kicked by Valentina. Val would absolutely ruin her. But I mean, it's not a bad fight to make. I remember Weili was calling for that fight in 2019, and at that time, it wasn't an appropriate call out because Zhang hadn't even defended her belt yet. This was like before she fought Joanna. But now, 5 years later, both of them 2-time champions. Both of them are dominant champions. Weili's defended her belt twice, 3 times, if you count both reigns. And if she beats Tatiana, that's going to be 4 defenses. So you can't argue that she's earned the opportunity to move up. Weili versus Kong. Weili wins because she's more well-rounded and could take her down. And Kong is yet to be proven against well-rounded fighters. She's yet to be proven against well-rounded fighters in MMA. Weili looks cute. We haven't seen her fight for so long. Low-key, yeah, she kind of did look nice with her braids and stuff. She looked very done up and nice and all that. But yeah, we haven't seen her fight in a while. Weili is a very inactive fighter, and no one talks about how inactive she is. People just overlook it. But if Weili doesn't have a fight booked this year, I'm going to be very annoyed because people had a lot to say about Rose being an inactive champion, but they have nothing to say about Weili being inactive. Why has Tatiana versus Weili not been announced? Ask Zhang Weili. Ask her why it hasn't been announced. Yeah, I'm annoyed too. I was hoping for the UFC 309 announcement that we would see Zhang Weili versus Tatiana Suarez, but no, that fight just couldn't get announced. That fight could have even happened last night in the Sphere. Like, that literally could have happened last night because Tatiana's Mexican. But of course, they didn't make that fight. Like, if they don't make this fight this year, I'm gonna be very irritated. Like, it might get to the point where Weili might or Tatiana might have to take another fight before fighting Weili, because Weili might not fight again this year, which is stupid. Yep, exactly. It could have been last night. She has no need to take this amount of time off. All right, guys. If you guys have any more input or anything you'd like to say, get it off your chest right now because I am about to leave this live. Because I'm hungry. It's getting late, and I've been on here for like 2 hours, so I'm ready to move on. But if you guys have any questions or any comments, any more comments, just let me know. I'll give you like another minute or two, and then I'm about to dip. When are you coming back? We'll see. It depends on how I feel. Could be tomorrow, could be in 2 weeks, could be a month. It just depends on how I feel and how mentally recovered I am. Okay, get rest. You sound sick. Yeah, I had allergies. But thank you guys for joining my live. Thank you all to all the fans and the supporters and even the haters. You know, even if you hate me, you're still watching. You're still giving me views, still giving me comments. So in the end, I'm winning. So yeah, Diego's taking care of Alexa. And yeah, I'll be back. I'll be doing videos again regularly, but just right now, I'm just gonna cool it. I'm just gonna chill out. Yeah. But this is DJ C Combat. Peace.